All right, and we are live. Good evening and good morning and good afternoon and good whatever it is, wherever the hell you are on this gorgeous planet that we all occupy. Cool. So this is a bit of an impromptu stream that Jen suggested. So I'm actually going to throw over to Jen and let Jen introduce it because... Cool. So this is a bit of a... Oh, I can hear myself.
Yeah. Who's got the echo?
Okay. That's all right. It's all fixed now.
Sorry, I fixed it.
It's okay. We get it.
It's why have one voice when I can have lots of my voice coming in. It really helps my ego.
Well, it is a sexy voice, Chris. It's so that Russell Crowe sort of.
I wish I could argue with you. I really, really do wish I could argue with you. But I mean, facts are facts, aren't they? Yeah,
that's true.
Yep. So that being said, Jen, I'm going to let you introduce the topic.
Yeah, Chris and I were talking about an hour ago that we probably needed some sort of follow-up to the discussion that was had last night on Six Pack about women in the community and in general, especially as we branched out to how the community needs to be more accepting in general towards minorities as well as women, and how the community itself could be more embracing and more open than what it currently is. There is a sense of there's a club within the community, especially the YouTube side of the community, that you kind of have to be part of that club to get anywhere. Creators like myself and Chris have tried to be more open, try to encourage people to be part of what's happening, try to lift other people up, and we think that's how the community should be more. We should be all more trying to lift each other, trying to get more content out there. We realize that's more a case of sharing the pool of people who will watch the stuff, but the more voices there are, the stronger the community is, and I think that's kind of important. So that's kind of what we were planning on talking about tonight, right? How we can make the community more inclusive and bring out those other voices that are sometimes being silenced because of people who don't because some of the bigger voices drown us out to an extent. Not all of them, but some.
I'll throw to you, Ilya. What are your thoughts? Incidentally, I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've been on a stream together, Ilya. I know we've chatted on Twitter a fair bit, and in I think in side chats and things like that. But it's cool to finally do a stream with you. So awesome. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me on. It's great to get to meet you and actually get to chat with you as well. My thoughts are from a woman's perspective. Let me just speak from a woman's perspective here. I think that what I see within the community overall is that it's primarily male dominated. So when I'm on streams, like the other night, I was on MC Toon's channel for his 5K special, and I was the only female there for an hour and a half, and getting a word in edgewise was just impossible. So, for me, it becomes a little bit discouraging because I have things I want to say. I have things I want to contribute, but I feel sometimes it gets stifled and pushed down because this community is so male dominated. Does that make sense?
Do you think it's like a bit of a boys' club in a way?
Oh, definitely.
Would that be a fair analogy?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Do I think?
Oh, sorry.
Do I think that all? I was just going to say, do I think that all of the men in the community want it to be that way? No, I think that's just how it is. I don't think that that's what the men in the community are setting out to do. I think it is just by circumstance what it is. But I think as a whole, we can do better.
Yeah, I don't think it's a conscious effort on the part of most of the men in the community. It's just something that happens. It's just a side effect of growing up in that environment, I think, for a lot of men.
What about you, Jeff? What are you thinking? Incidentally, this is like, I think, the second time I've seen you without a football jersey on.
I've gone to baseball today, so
yeah. American as well. What the hell?
No British cricket. What's?
Cricket
Yeah,
season's sort of off. Cricket season's off at the moment, so
because of
Season's up at
Corona.
the moment.
anyway, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Yeah, I do agree a lot of what Ilya said. I don't think it's consciously, I think sometimes we don't realise that it is a bit of a boys' club at times, and sometimes it could be. I mean, sometimes I feel like we are drowning out other voices in the community, not just women, but sometimes I think we could be drowning out racial minorities, and I don't think that's the sort of thing we consciously do. It just sort of seems to be the way things are at the moment, and I suppose obviously what we're here to talk about is what we can do to maybe try and alter that and encourage sort of different people or whatever. And I think obviously like sort of atheist skeptic community and like the debunk community, which Ilya is very close to, there's two communities overlap quite a bit. I think it's probably, I mean, I don't know if Ilya would agree, it's somewhat similar in both communities. Would you say that, Ilya? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. I think that all of the big players, if you will, tend to be white men. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, as far as that is concerned. That's great. I want to hear their voices too, right? But I do think there is something that we're leaving off of the table when we don't empower women and we don't empower minorities.
Yeah.
Now, do you think a part of that is because, I remember when I first came into the community, you Google atheist, and the first thing that pops up, is I guess the more confrontational style atheist. So like your Matt Dillahunty, yelling at a Christian on the atheist experience, having the big fights, and I guess for a lot of people who are just coming in, there is that angry atheist phase. So things like that can be attractive. Even I guess your Aaron Ra's, people like that. Is that a factor? Do we think?
I think it can be. I think for me personally, the reason why, I'm an atheist, but I don't put myself in the atheist community, quote unquote, if you will. I stay more towards the debunking, skeptic side. Yes, that's kind of the place that I'm comfortable in because it's less angry. Right. And I come from a place where, if I have a Christian sitting next to me, I want to be able to have a conversation with them and it not be a yelling match. Or if I have a flat earther sitting next to me, I want to be able to tell them how stupid they are. And,
Yes.
and have a good laugh.
You need to meet Bobby Mack. You really need to meet Bobby Mack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said. And for me, it is a difference between I don't know how to word this correctly, but Christianity to me, especially here in the States, in the South where I live, it is such an indoctrinated part of life that sometimes you have to meet people where they're at with compassion and kindness to help understand them. Whereas the flat earth side of things, they're just, to me, stupid and globe deniers and evidence deniers. So you kind of have to meet them in a different place, right?
It's the same when you're debunking incels and anti-vaxxers and people like that. It's an entirely different thing to debunking the religious.
Right.
It's an entirely different thing.
Which
yeah, it's very different.
Oh, sorry.
What I think. So, and just for anyone watching, and who might be new here, one thing we do encounter is a bit of a regular problem is being on various sides of the planet, because we do have a bit of an international feel here. Even myself and Jen, even though we share the same accent, we're about as far apart on the continent as you can be. So there can be a little bit of a delay. So if it ever seems like people are talking over each other, I promise you we're not. It's just that delay, and I guess we get used to it. So don't panic. Don't think we're all being angry atheists. And I've completely forgot what I was going to say now. So Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I mean, this is why I think like some of the projects that like things like what Ilya does on the I Network with the Uncalled For, and I could think possibly like the thing that Cheshire and Sweet Heathen and that do that. Some of those sort of women shows, I think they're very, very important at the moment, because I don't think we are getting that side enough in the community, and really, and off the top of my head, there aren't really that many sort of channels or shows on YouTube that are really kind of taking those kind of issues on from, or taking a lot of issues on from, say, perspective of women, or again from minorities, which is good. We've got a few shows out there that do, and I think we actually need to really push them as much as we can. But I think ultimately we're looking for more kind of content like that from new people as well, rather than just having one or two sort of kind of exceptions to the rule. I mean, when I look at, say, a lot of the big,
that's what it seems like there is, like a few exceptions to the rule, like where you've got. I mean, Rachel Yates is probably the one who I can think of who's the biggest female in the community. I can't think of anyone who comes even close.
Oh, no one. The next biggest would be Shannon.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
and there's a huge difference between those two, an enormous difference.
I mean,
or really, Jacqueline Glenn, maybe.
I'd say Jacqueline Glenn. I'd say Jacqueline Glenn, but I think she's more in a sort of very much what I call a mainstream YouTube community. And,
she's still doing some atheist content, but I think she's kind of. I think there's only so far you can get realistically with atheist content. I think she probably hit that limit, and clearly a very smart businesswoman, and made some decisions to appeal to a wider market,
broader audience. Yeah. Why she did unboxings with vibrators and various other things that appealed to a bigger community, and collabed with a lot of other more mainstream YouTubers to get to where she was. And I don't blame her for that. She was making a living from it. It's what she had to do. But it's hard if you just want to be part of this community, that you can't get your voice out within the community the same way as an Aaron. Well, no, he's not even Aaron Ra, but I mean, for any of us, it's hard. I mean, I'm not just saying it's hard for Ilya and I as women. It's hard for any of us. If you're not part of that in a clique, moving yourself up within the community is all hard slog.
Yeah,
and it does tend to be a little bit of a clique, and
it does.
And look, maybe that's an appearance, because most of the people I've spoken to, I guess, who are the bigger content creators, with one notable exception. There's one person who I'm not going to name. I think most people know who I'm talking about, who I think is a complete tosser in the community. But most of the larger atheist YouTubers are pretty open. They're happy to come on, have conversations. I've done stuff with Aaron Ra. I've spoken to, I think, probably Matt Dillahunty's probably the only one from the atheist experience I haven't done something with now. And
Matt's very hard to get hold of, though.
And I haven't reached out, so there's that as well. You've actually got to, but it's. I think I haven't had a reason or a conversation to have with him. I don't think, and I'm sure that at some point I will, and I'll definitely reach out. And from what I've heard, he's busy, but he does what he can.
I
don't think.
Go on, Jed.
I don't think
that's that delay thing. Yeah,
I don't think it's for a lot of them. It's not a case that they won't get involved. If you talk to like Godless Engineer or Shannon Q or even Pelagia or someone like that, that usually if you can organize it right with them, they will get involved. But they're also very popular, so they're going to get a lot of people ask, and they can't say yes to everyone. And I do get that, but there is a big gap between those handful of content creators and the rest of us.
Right. And
it is a true thing, and it is very hard for those of us underneath that to build ourselves up.
These people put out exceptionally good content.
I totally agree.
Realistically, it's it's at the end of the day, people are going to click on and watch what they want to watch if it's something that appeals. I like watching Aaron Ra's debates with Kent Hovind and things like that. Because it was just damn entertaining. I watched a few of Rachel H things. I think she puts out good content. But that being said, she doesn't necessarily appeal to me, and that's not because for anything. It's just I don't think that I'm her target audience, to be honest.
She appeals a lot to younger people.
Yeah.
She appeals a lot to me.
Yeah.
But that being said, I've watched a heap of the stuff and I love her content, and I think she's awesome.
Oh yeah. She's a lovely person.
Shannon Q, I've learned so much from Shannon Q. I've learned how to argue with people nicely. She's brilliant.
Shannon has the patience for the saint.
I don't know how she does it. But when I first came in, that was my introduction. It was like, okay, well, here's Matt Dillahunty yelling at, and it probably made me feel a little bit better about myself because I'd left Christianity and had all these Christians trying to hit me with this, that, and try and drag me back in. So I think there was a little bit of that sort of made me feel good, but also gave me the arguments that I needed at the time. So I think if there was someone who was that kind of firebrand. And I think Jenna Belk actually fits into that pretty well. I like what Jenna does. I think there's sometimes where she's a bit too much like Matt, but I think there's been a few people on the Atheist Experience. I think Eric Murphy used to do the same when he started. He was trying to be, I think, a bit too much like Matt, but I think Matt's fairly unique. But I think Jenna, when she's got her own style, and she's pretty good. Even say Marie, who was on last night. Marie's awesome. Marie is. I want to see
Marie's amazing.
I want to see a lot more of Marie. I don't necessarily agree with her on everything, but I definitely want to see a lot more, and I want to see her tackle a lot more atheist issues. Which brings me to another thing that I'm thinking, and this is something that I think I recognise from the outset as an issue within the community, and I'd love to get everyone else's opinion. Do we think there's an issue in the community where by virtue of the fact that we're atheists and atheist activists or in the atheist community, that we get dragged to other communities and other causes that really aren't necessarily atheist related?
Definitely.
I mean, I've got to say, as someone who's right wing in the atheist community, it can get lonely sometimes, especially in the and look, Twitter's a bubble. Twitter's a bubble. And I get that, but there's times where I kind of feel like people assume because you're in the atheist community that you're ally with this, you ally with that, you ally with that, and sometimes there's causes that I really support, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be a part of an atheist community. What do we think?
Yeah,
I agree to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I personally am a centrist. I am not right or left. I'm a centrist. I'm very socially liberal, though. So when it comes to minorities, when it comes to equity and equality and parity from an LGBTQ perspective, when it comes to women's equality, equity, and parity, I'm very liberal. I'm very much, liberal. I'm fiscally conservative. So there's the difference. However, I think that sometimes I notice that being more on the skeptic and debunking side of the community, that sometimes I get dragged into the atheist community stuff more. Whereas I see a lot of the atheists getting dragged into the debunking and skeptic. There's just so much overlap, right? So yeah, I mean, to a degree, I absolutely see that, but there's also so many other things that I think that as a community we should be involved in, because from a humanist perspective, from a human rights perspective, I feel like there are things we could do better and do more of.
But do you necessarily think that, I guess, and look, you and I probably agree on a lot of the same. I would consider myself very progressive socially.
Right.
Absolutely, when it comes to economics, I'm hardcore conservative. When it comes to anything economic, that's me. I do consider myself conservative, but I also think that conservatives generally, I think there's a misunderstanding because most conservatives are pretty socially liberal. Because at the end of the day,
well, in Australia.
No, I think worldwide. I think in the US is an anomaly because the US is an anomaly because most conservatives, the attitude is we just don't want the government being involved in anything. It's the government shouldn't, if people want to, people can do whatever they want to do as long as it doesn't affect me. That's a very conservative ideological point of view. But anyway, that's not what we. But I guess it's. See, I agree with say something like LGBT issues. 99.99% of things I agree with, and the 0.01% I don't is only stuff I don't understand or don't know. So I don't hold an opinion. But I also accept that maybe not everyone is going to hold that viewpoint, and especially when they're coming out of religion, they're coming out of, I guess, what I call religious conservatism, where they have certainly been, it's where they haven't had the contact, they haven't had the experience, they don't have the knowledge. I mean, trans issues is a great example. I mean, for me, I knew absolutely nothing apart from maybe Caitlyn Jenner when I became an atheist, and that was so to me. I came in very much not understanding, not knowing, not holding an opinion, and sort of felt like I've come into this community and all these other things getting thrown at me, and I'm a bit like, hang on, I don't know anything about this. I just want to be an atheist. I've just left a church. Like, leave me alone.
I got it. Yeah, I get it.
So I guess for me that was, and now I mean, obviously, and it's good to meet and understand other issues. And I always try and educate myself in other issues, but not everyone wants to educate themselves in other. Some people just want to come into an atheist community, and that's it. And I worry that, and it's sorry, I'm just using that as an example, but I think sometimes we can scare people off. And I mean, even Aaron Ra, I love Aaron to death, but when he's there, bagging, say, Donald Trump, look, 50% of you assume that half the people are right, half the people are left, or there's some in the center, but half the population of America is probably pro-Trump because I mean half the population of America voted for the guy. So I worry that we potentially isolate, and I know that people often say to me, it's the atheist community. I don't want anything to do with them. I'll call myself secular. I'm not going to call myself atheist because it's just a lefty bubble. And I'm just like, well, actually, it's not. But I can understand why people think that. Yeah,
and that's very true. I don't want to be considered a part of the atheist community because of a lot of what I see on the outside looking in. However, I do consider myself an activist when it comes to minorities and LGBTQ plus rights. I am absolutely. So I come from a different place than you do, Chris. I come from a place where my uncle was trans. So I grew up with the understanding of what that looks like. I grew up with the understanding of if you said anything wrong or sly around my mama, she was going to slap you because that was her brother, period, end of story. And so I grew up from a very different perspective when it comes to that issue. My aunt so my mom's brother is trans and my dad's sister is a lesbian. So I grew up with being exposed to that, learning how to love, learning how to accept, and moving forward. So I come from a very different place than you when it comes to that, but I can tell you the outcome is still the same when it comes to wanting to be progressive, wanting to see equal rights, wanting to have equity and parity. And I'm not doing this as a shameless plug or anything, but tomorrow I'm having Jenny Morgan on a new show. Me and Punchy and some other people have started a new channel called Sit Down with the Debunkers. And we are literally redoing what an equality show looks like. Rather than sit and point and laugh at stupid MGTOW or incels or whomever, we are actually going to take on an interview perspective. And tomorrow Jenny Morgan's coming on. And she told me, I trust you, Ilya. It's no holds barred. You can ask me any question you want to ask. What I want to do with this show is share people's journeys. I want her to share her story. I want her story to be heard. And I want to help promote that and platform that. That is so important to me. And, you know, I think that more in the community could do things like that, where it's not just sit, point, and laugh. That's fun. And there's a time and a place for that. But I also think that there's a time and a place for the serious conversations where we platform people so they can share their story, they can share their journey, and people just shut up and listen. And I think there needs to be more of that. And we're not seeing that.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree with that.
And I think that's something that all of us here are trying to do. I mean, Chris has got his coffee conversations that you've been working on. Coffee time or whatever you're calling it. I can't remember what you called it, Chris. I know I did the video promo for it, but I can't remember what it's called.
I think it's changed a couple of times. So what that is, it's interviewing and talking to people within the community about why they do what they do, what drives them, what motivates them. It's a bit of a. I'm probably just going to call it the Atheist Pastor podcast because I'm sort of going through a bit of a. I don't know. I'm like it's a bit of a branding midlife crisis at the moment. You know, it's ever since I doxed myself and discovered that it actually didn't really do me any damage, business, politically, anything like that. I'm just kind of going, well, I don't need to be Atheist Pastor anymore. Atheist Pastor can be a brand, but then there's radicals. And anyway, I'm getting off track. One thing I think that we do need to do in the community, I think we need to learn how to have conversations where we're not yelling at Christians, where we're not going. And I say this having said that, you know, I got in the community because I was watching the videos where they'd be having the fights and the arguments. But I think we need to learn how to have the conversations with Christians and, well, you know, any religion. Have conversations with people who hold a different opinion in a civil way. And actually, a great example, Jeff, you had a conversation with, I forget your friend's name.
Gavin.
That was a really cool conversation. Now, Jeff's friend Gavin is a Christian, and they just had a chat about it. They neither were going to change the other one's mind. It was just a decent conversation between two mates who just want to understand the other one's perspective. And I think we should do more. I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I mean, obviously that was your conversation, Jeff. So
yeah. Well, yeah, just for the record, it was Gavin who reached out to me, which was a bit surprising because obviously he'd never been on YouTube or anything. So I was a little surprised when he reached out. But you know, once I found sort of like, you know, what it was he was hoping to achieve, and I thought, okay, I'm kind of liking this, that because I think there's far too many of the and I'm going to use the word debates loosely here with on some of these YouTube channels like atheism versus Christianity, or where it be, you know, like or you know, young Earth creationism, or even something like flat Earth. A lot of it, I'm sorry, it just turns into absolute dumpster fires. Now, yes, they could be entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love like guys like Team Skeptic and Fight the Flat Earth tearing into flat earthers and that. I love it, but at the same time, when we have a lot of these sort of like atheist versus Christian kind of things, and it feels like there's people talking past one another rather than to one another, and there's nothing constructive being achieved, which I think which was good with that conversation I had with Gavin. That yeah, we knew we were going in. We weren't going to change anyone's mind, and it wasn't. We weren't really playing to an audience in a sense. It was, you know, just whoever happened to turn up to a lodge. It was okay. Here's my position. What's your position? Let's see what we agree on, what we don't agree on. I mean, that was and I think even amongst ourselves in the atheist, skeptic, and debunk communities, amongst ourselves, I think we need to have those kind of conversations a bit more, because as Chris sort of said like earlier, we have these things where like probably a lot of the time we agree on like 99% of everything, but I'll tell you that 1% is enough to cause blooming really fierce schisms, and I think it's ridiculous that it does. it's almost, I'm sorry, once it gets like that, it's almost, I'm not being funny, we better than any religious sect at that point, because it's I mean, sometimes I mean, there's one or two, let's just say one or two groups with the politics or whatever, I've likened to the People's Front of Judea before, and I think it's quite an apt description.
Oh no, sorry, we're Judean People's Front here.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So one thing I do
They're only in People's Front.
One thing I do want to follow up on really quickly, and it's something actually that it's sort of something that Ilya said, and it's concerning because Ilya, you mentioned you're atheist, but you don't want to be part of the atheist community,
Right.
I think that's a message. Like there's a message in that. It's that I think that we can learn something from. That we need to do things differently. We need to do things better. Did you want to elaborate on that? I know you did a little bit before, but I'd be interested, I guess, to hear more of your thoughts on that, because that's really that. I think that says it all.
I think that there's a lot of toxicity that I see from an outside perspective looking in, considering I consider myself more skeptic debunking community. When I'm looking at, some of the atheist community, I see people ripping each other apart, having a huge lack of respect for one another. The arrogance in some cases is very, it's very ugly is the right word for it. It's an ugly side of the community where someone has discovered their atheism and all of a sudden they think they know everything about everything. But I'll tell you, the man who knows anything knows that he knows nothing at all, right? We're still learning. We're still evolving. There's still so much to learn. And when you get to a place where you're so arrogant and you can't for the life of you understand a different perspective or continue to learn and to continue to grow, that's when you've lost your point in this. And I see that over and over and over and over and over again. And there are some big players in the community. And I think, Chris, me and you probably are talking about the same one, who is just so pompous, so arrogant, who has absolutely no respect for smaller creators, doesn't want to support, doesn't want to help, doesn't want to do anything but boast themselves and talk about how great they are.
I just put a name in the chat, so tell me if we're thinking the same person. Exactly.
So, yes, that's how I feel about that. And that person right there is my biggest turnoff to the community. That person right there. And not some of the people he works with, but that person themselves is my biggest turnoff to the community, because I see arrogance, I see ignorance, and I see a pompous attitude that does not sit well with me at all.
That person is actually very hard to deal with if you actually in a position where you're on the stream with them.
I don't want to be on a stream with them, so don't wish that upon me. Please.
Hi, Susan. Hi, Nathaniel.
Hey,
lovelies.
Morning.
Good morning.
We haven't had you on for ages, Susan. It's been ages.
I know, right? It's been a while.
You're almost a regular. You're almost a regular.
I'm okay with that. I'm great with that.
When we bring out the 6-pack shirt, you might have your head on there. Just be careful.
Yeah.
He woke me up probably about 10-15 minutes ago, and he's just all like, hey, let's go to his pass.
Jen wants you on the stream? Yeah.
Like, open one eye, and I'm all like, all right, I'm up.
Sorry,
you know what? If Lissy Lou shook me at what would be 5:30 in the morning, I'm guessing for you right now, I would probably end up getting a divorce, because I'd probably tell her where to go. So good for you. Oh no, I'm not a morning person. And Lissy knows this. There's been a few times where she'll wake me up or something. I was feeling, go away. You've been kicking me all night. Leave me alone.
And I pointed out to Nathaniel that we're both wearing voting shirts.
Oh, yeah.
His is
Unplanned.
voting rights or civil rights. Mine is don't blame me. I voted for Opus and Bill from Bloom County. Opus the penguin and Bill the cat.
It's a comic in the United States for all of you that aren't here.
It's a comic strip that's very political. But yeah, I got this after the 2016 election, and I'm just all like, well,
yep.
I guess it's applicable these days.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to send you both a couple of my shirts from when I ran for Parliament. You'll like them, even though I sit on a different side of politics. They're blue and say Liberal, so you'll be right. No one in America will know.
Yes, because we're opposite of the rest of the world.
Exactly. So yes, we're tricky. We trick people like that here. So.
Sneaky.
I need to correct you on something, Chris, because I heard it earlier. And yes, 50% of Americans did not vote for Donald Trump. That is assuming that Americans vote.
Oh, no.
50% that voted. So about 24% of Americans voted for that person.
Correct. Yes.
And right now his approval. I think that people honestly
45, isn't it? Or something like that?
No, he's in the 30s. I think people like
he's in the 30s now. Oh wow.
Yeah, he's been
depends on which poll you see. Yeah,
he's been.
I get that, but I guess probably my point with that one was more: look, assume when it comes to politics, half the people sit on one side, half the people sit on the other. And I mean, look, Trump's going to be around for 4 more years at the most. After that, there'll be someone else on the right, someone else on the left, and who knows? He might be around for 4 more months.
Don't wish us another 4 years. Don't do that. You just put that. You just put that out into the universe.
Why would you?
So easy to wind up Americans?
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, have you seen the president? I do think, though, that it's important note to state that I don't think that it's 50-50 with skeptical people, especially in the United States. I think that most of skeptical Americans lean at least fairly well left. Yeah.
Absolutely. So look, in America in particular, because I think the right in America is so entwined with Christianity. Like for me, as someone who sits on the right, I look at it and I see it and I just go, it's like this perversion of what conservatism is, because it's not it's religious conservatism. It's theocracy. It's not. It's just this horrendous version of like. You guys don't have a proper conservative wing over there. And
we do.
Really?
It's called the Lincoln Republicans. They are they are actual real conservatives. They're like I'm from the Midwest of the United States. The first real Republicans, if you want to call it that, that would be considered like 20th century, and grew up on a farm in the Midwest. And these are folks that the reason they don't want, as like kind of like you're a fan of, government, keep your hands off of my stuff. They don't want the government telling them what they can plant, where they can plant it, how much they can plant, how much fertilizer they can put there. That's conservatism in an ideal. Small government, let me do what I want. # states' rights. That type of stuff.
Almost libertarian.
Yeah. There's a lot of libertarians. And
the libertarians that don't use it as a way to just basically not come out and say, I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of libertarians in America are.
And so we do have that. It simply is, as you mentioned, is overshadowed by this zealous and overzealous far right-wing evangelical ideology, which has been going on for decades. And they've been just putting people in places of power for decades. It's even a manifesto that they have of how to do it and what to say in speeches and how to write these speeches.
Project Blitz.
Yep. Yeah, Project Blitz.
But that's not only a problem. Sorry. That's not only a problem in the Republican Party. That's also a problem for the Democrats. It's why if you compare Australia's politics, where we're talking about a centrist position, that would be a Democratic position in the US. In some cases.
But and look, I know you all hate Donald Trump, but one thing that it makes me chuckle, because he's not a religious person. He is absolutely not a religious person.
No.
And you see it when all he's had to appeal to that evangelical because that's what you've got to do if you're a Republican in the US. And if you ever get the chance, just watch him when they're doing they've all got the eyes closed and they're praying, and he's just kind of there with his eyes open, and you can sort of see it's like he's biting the insides of his cheek because he's trying not to laugh. But that's the reality of where America is. But I think we've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent here. So I guess to throw and I don't know how much. Both, you probably haven't heard too much, Susan, because you're just awake. And has he at least got your coffee?
Yeah, it's in. I don't know which. Is that mine or yours?
You bought it for me when you went to bed. When you went to bed by yourself, when my ankle.
Just from nothing is yours, Nathaniel. Nothing.
Well, this one we actually have. We do have this thing because we got the Star Wars mugs with "I love you and I know." And there is a constant conversation that we have.
Which one do we use?
Yeah. Do I use the Han Solo one or do I use the Leia one? So I don't know.
Han Solo is pretty cool. I mean, just that I know. That's one of the coolest lines. Well, I'm glad that he at least got your coffee after waking up at 5:30 to be here, and I'm very grateful you are here. But what are your thoughts on? I guess what we've been talking about is, I guess, ways that we can engage better as a community, and something that Ilya said that I thought was concerning is she's an atheist, but she doesn't want to be a part of the atheist community. I think there's a lot of people who hold that attitude. I know a lot of people who will say that, no, I'm not atheist, I'm secular. And it's the same thing, realistically. It's they hold the same belief position as all of us, but there's this perception of the atheist community and what it is. What's your take?
So, Ilya, I totally get it. I totally understand. Because I feel like, we do regularly have these conversations. Like Nathaniel was just saying. Yeah. The atheist community as a whole has this preconceived notion that it is filled with a bunch of the angry intellectuals who are just anti-religion and anti-Christians, not just anti-Christianity, but anti-Christians.
Yeah, new atheists.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of people, there are enough people within the quote unquote atheist community that fit that stereotype, that it's enough to make somebody say, wow, I don't think I want to associate with people like that.
Correct.
So I admittedly, when I moved from Corpus Christi to Austin, Texas, from Corpus Christi, Texas to Austin, Texas, and I was very involved with the atheist group in Corpus Christi. They were some of my best friends. They were the ones who really got me involved in activism and stuff. And Austin has the atheist community of Austin, ACA, with Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen and stuff like that. So I went to... Yeah, no, that is entirely true, Randolph. That is very, very true. So I went to a meetup for the ACA. It wasn't a post atheist experience thing. It was just like a midweek dinner meetup, and it was a bunch of angry white dudes that were all like old white dudes that were just sitting there and talking about how much they hated religion. And I was like, this is not the community I'm used to. Because in Corpus, it was, it was so many different people. Like it was a very diverse community, the atheists in Corpus Christi. So when I got to Austin, it's like, the ACA is not all just angry white dudes. I know it's not. Like I've watched the atheist experience. I was like, I know this isn't it, but it deterred me from going back because I had that bad experience with them. So I think I went to like one or two atheist experience when I lived in Austin, and that was like the extent of it. And if we don't make an inclusive community that makes sure that people are heard and understood and fought for, if we don't make allies within other communities and make sure that, other communities know that we're going to fight for them too, then we're just going to be a bunch of angry white dudes sitting around talking about religion.
Yep.
So
no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And
There's the delay, Ilya.
Go, Ilya. Go. I've held my thought for about 15 minutes. I can hold it a little longer.
No, go ahead. You go first. You go first.
I was going to say back to what Ilya said about wanting to be within the skeptical community and the debunking community rather than the atheist community, because I sort of sit the fence there, because I'm involved with the atheist community. I do some atheist content, but I also do an awful lot of LGBT and science and debunking content, because I love that side of it and I love that part of the community, and I'm a big part of that community as well. So from my perspective, but one of the problems with just as a content creator, if we just concentrate on always bashing on the religious door, then we become no better than the people we're complaining about. And we have to be very careful of that. Whereas when you're being a skeptic and when you're debunking stupid, I mean literally stupid, like you're going after flat earthers and anti-vaxxers and people who actually do harm to people,
right, then
you're not seen in that same light as if you're constantly going after this Christian or that Christian. So it's a lot easier community, and it's a big community, because that community actually does include some Christian people as well, because there are lots of Christians out there who don't like stupid. You know, there are intelligent Christian people in the world who are open to more ideas and don't let their religion get in the way of what reality actually is.
Correct.
And sometimes some of the content I see that come out of some creators in the atheist community becomes an attack on anyone who's religious at all. And I think you're missing the entire point there. I mean, when you see some of the people who in the atheist community fighting with people like Ocean, who it just boggles my mind. I mean, there is nothing in Ocean's paganism that is in any way fighting against anything that that us in the atheist community are against. In fact, 90% of the time he's on our side. And I'm like, why? Why is there this issue? If these people aren't extremists, I totally get going after Ken Ham when he's talking his absolute bullshit about something, or taking down Ken Hovind, or Darth Dawkins, or Ray Comfort, because these people are dangerous in the ideas that they push, and they split communities.
Well,
but the people underneath should not be our targets.
I'll just quickly throw over to Ilya, then I'll throw down to you, Jeff, and I've actually got a thought on that as well. But
it was just a short response to Jen.
Yeah. Go, Ilya.
Okay, so I completely concur with everything you just said, Jen. A lot of what I see is, so from the skeptic debunking side of the community, because that's where, again, I tend to lay. What I see is more inclusivity when it comes to various belief systems. So we do have Christians, Dark Knight Apologetics. He's a Christian, but he's a flat earth debunker. And he's really smart, really intelligent. He's in my Discord server. I consider him a friend. He's a good person. We just don't believe in the same things when it comes to religion, but he's not stupid. He's very intelligent. He believes in science. He believes in reality. He's not a young earth creationist. So, you know, when I look at someone like him, I don't want to attack him. I think he has a voice that needs to be heard. He's very intelligent and he is great at debunking. And so I don't want to stifle voices that are actually giving intelligent conversation in the community, whether they're a theist or not. And I see that so often when we're looking at just the atheist community, where it's like, you know, you're just attacking theists. It's an anti-theist mindset, and you're not creating an allyship with people who are Christians who maybe are a little bit left-leaning and want to support these causes, or, you know, are whatever religion, Buddhist, Hinduism, whatever the case may be. I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more allyship when it comes to atheists, Christians, Buddhists, the whole gambit, right, of people coming together and actually talking about real issues and not just fighting because I don't believe in your God. That's what I would like to see from a viewer perspective when I'm looking at the atheist community. And there is literally none of that.
So I'll throw down to you, Jeff. Sorry, you had some thoughts as well.
Yeah, I suppose it was just on something Jen said regarding obviously the ocean and whatever. Who I think is a great ally to this to our community, even though he's not an atheist himself, he's a polytheist, which some people know is where I was at a few years ago. But sometimes, and again, this goes back to something I said earlier about like the vitriol I can sometimes see over the simplest of disagreements. And like for example, I mean, Ocean put one out which was more just a response to like a philosophical position that he really didn't agree with, which was the whole babies are atheist thing. Now probably obviously the person who's well known for that is obviously is probably for that argument is probably Kate Bionic Dance. Now I'll say this, Bionic Dance and Ocean had a very very civil conversation about this thing afterwards, but you had a lot of other atheists who were coming into like the comment section of Ocean or on Twitter, like just roasting him over that, like how blooming dare you say this, it was like and I happen to think Ocean had a point, and I mean, thankfully obviously he and Kate were able to have a very sensible and cordial conversation about it, which I would, which is exactly what I would kind of expect. But it's sometimes it and I think again this could go back to something you talked about a month or so ago, Chris, about that there is dogmatism within the atheist community, whether we wish to admit that or not. There is some absolute dogma, and I understand, and really, and why? Because really, what it is a philosophical position on the existence of God, and the vitriol I see over that, I don't get it. Now, maybe it's because, look, I'm from the UK. Atheism is fairly normalised here in the UK. I understand it's different in somewhere like the United States. I get that, and there is the need to normalise it. And maybe that's why maybe this is why perhaps I don't get it, because I know, but I don't have to worry about not fearing for my job, for example, because I'm an atheist. I don't have to fear for that. But I know in like certain parts, certainly America, that could be the case. So maybe I don't know if that's where some of this dogmatism and comes. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I might be totally wrong with this. But and I understand there is a need to normalize the atheism. But sometimes I almost feel like you have the political, some of the political organizations who will put something out there, and it is followed like absolute dogma by people when it really shouldn't be.
See, I think I used to get back to a point that's been made. I actually disagree when it comes to allying with others. To me, and I like people like Ocean. I've had Ocean on the show before, enjoy having conversations with him. But when it comes to, I guess, issues of atheism, we hold a different view. He's someone who, his religious point of view, okay, it's not as mainstream, but I view that in the same way as I'd view Christianity, Islam, any religious belief. I respect people's rights to have the belief. I don't respect belief, but I think there's too much. And when we say we're allying, I think at that point it almost becomes, it's like we're this allies in this war against Christianity. And I think we need to stop doing that. I think it's great to point out the issues with Christianity. And that's something I like to do. And in fact, if you ever want to see someone point out issues with Christianity, I don't think there's anyone better than Nathaniel with his deep dives. Like I love your deep dives. So I think it's good to do that kind of stuff. But I think we've also got to be mindful of, we don't want to scare Christians off at the same time. So that's my thoughts. I know. What do you think, Nathaniel? Because it's, I mean, you do a lot of, obviously you do a lot of Christian debunking. I've seen you very eloquently win a debate.
At least a few.
I don't know that I have ever won a debate. I think that is decided long after the fact.
I know that you have.
Right?
I think it's like recruiting in college football, which obviously football, not whatever you guys call soccer. You recruit folks into football and, you know, out of high school, but you don't really ever figure out how things went for maybe 3 years later. You don't really get an idea of how good a class is until a couple of years later. And I think that's usually the case with the reactions and the ways we're able to build upon and learn upon debate type stuff. And I think that takes time, but I do appreciate your comments. We do what we can in our, and Ocean is one of my better friends. He and I, we talk a lot. It was actually really awesome of him. He said the only reason he was going to go to Faithless Forum this year was to hang out with me.
Aww.
And that was really cool. I didn't know that. And I was like, because we had many conversations about it. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know that. It was really nice.
Yeah. Ocean and I exchange puns a lot.
Oh yeah.
We have
and Ocean's awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. When I think Ocean is brilliant, but
I don't disagree with you. I think there's a difference between allying.
Is it bad that I don't know who Ocean is? Maybe send me a link to his channel.
Sure. Ocean.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link, Ilya. I'll send you a link to his channel. I think
That's
he's
how
put
far
good
removed
contact.
I am from the atheist community, if that tells you anything. That's how far away I stay from it. I don't even know who Ocean is.
A certain corner of it. Ocean is an ally to me in the way that there is a productive amount of conversation that can be had between theists and those who are non-theists. And I agree with that completely. I don't debunk Christianity. I think that's important to note. Susan and I do what we can all the time to foster positive conversations with folks across a spectrum. And one thing, and I actually, this is something that I appreciate. We are right now going through and actually responding to, and we think actually refuting a video by Inspiring Philosophy, Michael Jones. And one of the great things, he actually wrote a blog post about what we were writing. And while we don't agree with the blog post, because obviously
it was a very long blog post.
Also, it's against our video, what we think is right. So, he said something at the beginning of that we take pride in, and that was that we didn't attack him.
Yeah.
And that is something I agree that we see a lot of. We tend to, at least myself, get into the weeds a little bit and go in and do a ton of research and find a lot of information about something, and then present it as best as we can in a positive, humorous, and yet educational fashion or format.
I'm the snark, basically.
She is
what he's saying.
She's phenomenal. And the one thing that we try to do in those videos is educate without telling somebody else that they're wrong. And because usually the things that we talk about, now mind you, when it comes to like sex education and stuff, if you don't want it, you're wrong. But when it comes to these things about mythicism, right? That's one of your things, Chris. Whenever I have the conversations about mythicism, I never tell somebody that they're wrong, unless you're Richard Carrier, that Jesus existed or didn't exist. And I have my issues with Richard Carrier by himself. But I won't do that because, again, it's like the debate thing. A person isn't going to change their mind 99 times out of 100 right now, right? They have to be able to, and I know this too, because we had this conversation the other day, and then I ended up, I was not okay with it. Turns out I am now. To process something and to look into something takes time. And then even more than that, it takes the time to be able to say, oh, yeah, I was wrong about something. And then there's even more time to change the position. And so I think that really the biggest thing there with having those conversations, as impassioned as they may be, is to say to somebody, Here's the thing: the census in Luke didn't happen. It doesn't mean Christianity's wrong. That type of stuff. So that way we can build on a foundation, and from there, I can hear myself twice. Okay, sorry. And from there, then I think we can foster more productive conversation. It doesn't mean, again, not to be impassioned, because I am a lot. But what it does mean is that those who we are speaking with, that we do what new atheism doesn't do very well and respect them.
Yeah.
That's oh my gosh.
And there's a difference in I think in the way a lot of people use the term respect. I think some people use the term respect in the sense of, you need to respect me in that I am an authority over you. You need to have that same sort of respect that you would give to, you know, how you might have for a boss or potentially a president. I don't know. But you know, the way that I use
breathe.
I was trying to hold that one. You know, I was like, yeah. And then I couldn't hold it in. That's a good point.
But you know, the way that I use it is that, you know, or the way a lot of people use it, not just me. You know, respect other people in that you need to treat them with this baseline of human dignity, and remember that we're people and we're all fallible. We all are prone to believing things that might not be true. And that's, you know, that's regardless of who we are and what our religious beliefs are.
Yeah.
You know,
or political or anything necessarily. Yeah. Now, ideologies don't deserve respect. That is earned.
Yeah.
That's it. That's important as well.
So,
you would not see get fucked type stuff.
I agree.
See, my attitude is I always, and it's something that Captain Picard said, actually. So I'm going to quote the great man himself, that we may not agree with what you think, but we're going to fight for your right to think it, or something along those lines. I don't know. It was said in a very British and very Picard, but it was along those lines. And there's a lot of people I disagree with. Like I think it's fair to say that I probably hold a different political opinion to most people here. That being said, if I was in America, maybe not. But you know, but on a lot of things. But we can have a conversation now, and we can all respect that we've got the right to think what we want to think. I respect that people have got the right to have a religious belief. I mean, I used to have one myself. I don't have to respect that belief, and people. It frustrates me when people say, well, no, you have to respect my belief. And I say, no, actually, I don't have to respect your belief, because from my perspective, your belief isn't a good thing. I respect your right to have that belief. And even, you know, people can believe all weird and wonderful things. My best mate's a flat earther, for crying out loud.
Yes.
You know, like, I respect his right to have that belief. I think he's batshit crazy on a lot of that kind of stuff. And not to say that he's batshit crazy. I just think that his viewpoint is
batshit crazy.
Fruit
that being said, me and him can still sit down. We can have a beer, and when we're not talking about that, actually, when we are talking about that, we have as good time because I enjoy the conversation. But when we're not talking about that, it's a small part of who we are, and I think we've got to remember that people are people. It's something actually Randolph put in the Randolph Richardson, who, for those who don't know, is the head of the Canadian Atheists. Oh,
you're flat earthers. I'm going to hit the booze.
Is it with lemonade again?
Yeah, it's with lemonade again.
I might go get myself a gin and tonic in a minute then. But the thing is, we can hold these. I think we need to respect the way that we approach things. I think we need to have enough respect for ourselves and our community that we don't want to just come off like a bunch of angry arseholes. Now, I think there's a market for that. I mean, that's how I discovered the community, watching, you know, angry videos and things along those lines. And let's be honest, I mean, it's sexy viewing. I mean, it's, you know, it makes you feel good inside, and haha, we got one over them. But realistically, we need to have better conversations in this community. because we want people to
We
be
do.
proud
We
to be
do.
part of this.
100%.
And at the moment, we've got people who don't want to be a part of this community. I mean, hell, there's times I wake up and think, I just wish I wasn't an atheist. There's days because it's just, I'll see, it's people within the community, attacking each other, getting involved in every other bloody issue apart from atheism. Sorry, yeah.
There's not.
Sorry.
Lags. I'll quickly throw to Jeff, then I'll throw up to you, Ilya.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from here. I mean, and there's people who, like I said, could be huge names in our community that are scared off by this. Now, I mean, I saw was it? I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast a few years ago. Megan Phelps Roper, who is a non-believer. I mean, if people don't know her story, she used to be, she was part of the Westboro Baptist Church. She was part of the Phelps family. I mean, Fred Phelps was her grandfather, and her and her sister fled the Westboro Baptist Church. And they're out, and obviously speak out against not just the Westboro, but those kind of groups like that now. But she said that she's a non-believer, but she absolutely hates to identify with atheism. Even though by all intents and purposes she is an atheist, she doesn't want to be associated with that for a lot of the reasons that were discussed here. You think someone like that who could be such an asset to this community, who is put off by it, then there's something seriously wrong, in my opinion.
Because there's a lot of toxic elements to the atheist community. That's part of the problem, especially the anti-theist part of the. Sorry, Chris. Especially within the anti-theist part of the community, there's a lot of toxicity. But even in the other bit, I mean, a certain YouTuber that we're not talking about,
Voldemort, Lord Voldemort.
Lord Voldemort, yeah.
His name shall not be mentioned.
And it be mentioned. Some of his content comes across as though he just wants to tear people down.
Yep.
And if you're trying to win, but if you're trying to win people back out of religious dogma, you're not going to do it that way. Yeah, you're gonna make the audience who really want to see you tear somebody down clap, and that's great if you're doing it to a flat earther or some somebody who's dangerous and stupid. But a lot of the people that he's talking about aren't dangerous and stupid. Well, they are stupid, but they're not necessarily dangerous. And you can treat them a little bit nicer. And you can still do that with us, because someone like Rachel Oates can do exactly the same, address the exact same content without being a bitch about it. So
I'll quickly throw to Ilya. Did want to say something before, so I'll just quickly throw across to Ilya.
Sorry, Ilya.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on what you had said, Chris, around sometimes you wake up and you just don't want to be an atheist because of all of the noise in the community that is somewhat toxic, right? I don't ever wake up not wanting to be an atheist, but I wake up and go on Twitter or go online or whatever, and I suddenly am like, I just want to leave the community altogether. Like, I don't even want to be here. It's the drama, it's the toxicity, it's the pain and the lack of understanding and people not asking to understand, right? And I think that in a lot of these situations, asking to understand would resolve a lot of the issues, because if you're not willing to ask someone why their position is what it is and understand why they have come to that conclusion, right, wrong, or indifferent, then you are no better than the Christians who are out here committing hate crimes, bombing, LGBTQ clubs, or, doing these mass shootings. You're no better than them. It's just that you're not using violence, but you're still, you're I don't know. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah,
because my point here, it's like you've got to sometimes ask to understand.
That exactly.
I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because if you attack,
that's good.
Because if you attack on the heavy, all you do is you push people deeper into their religion, and the only people you're going to convert are the people who are already questioning. So, but if you push back on them aggressively, that's not going to work. It doesn't even work if you're trying to convert people away from being flat earthers or things like that. That's why if you listen to somebody like Simon Dan or Conspiracy Cats talk about how they want to approach these people, yeah, if you're one of the big names and you're probably only there because you want to make money out of it and you're obviously a shill, yeah, attack them all full well. But if you're talking about the smaller people, you engage in a conversation and try to be better than they're being. And I think that's something that we often don't do. We're not being better. We have to be the better people.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the solutions? What can we do? And look, we're not going to, there's 6 of us here, and we're obviously not going to solve all of the atheist, there's not going to be a light bulb moment for the atheist community. But what things can we do? Or how can we encourage growth within the community? How can we encourage people to want to be a part of an atheist community?
Well,
this is going to sound incredibly cliche, but I do agree with the mentality of be the change you want to see. One of the reasons why when we created our channel, which I don't have a wrench, so I can't put my channel link in here, but Godless Scummer can.
I'll do it, Ilya.
I can fix that. How are you not going to wrench?
I don't know. So
it's all your fault, Chris.
One of the reasons,
it is Nathaniel. Hang on, and Susan, we're going to fix that.
One of the
Well, has Susan said anything?
The reasons
No, I haven't
why
I'm not in there on my
made
own.
equality.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I made equality such a passion project for me when it comes to our channel is because we are going to be a panelist of multi-beliefs. So Roxy is a pagan. I'm an atheist. Mr. Serious is agnostic. Punchy is an atheist. I don't know what Quiddies is because it doesn't matter to me. We're not talking Christianity or atheism on our channel.
Yeah.
And then Bullionator is producing. So we are having guests specifically on around issues that need to be addressed. Like Jenny Morgan coming on tomorrow is going to be about trans issues. We're going to dive into it. We're going to take a look at it. And we're going to ask the questions, what can cis people do to be allies? What can we do to help? And then next week, we're having a father on whose teenager is transgender, and we're going to talk about parenting through that and what that looks like. So we're going to it's about pulling people together from all different aspects of life to address the issues that need to be addressed from a societal perspective. And I'm sorry, but right now, from a societal perspective, I don't see as Christianity and atheism being the topic we need to discuss. We need to discuss racism. We need to discuss, the LGBT.
Yeah.
We need to discuss these things. We need to fix these problems before we can get into the bigger picture. So that's why this has been a passion project for me. It's very important to me to have these harder discussions that nobody wants to have. Everybody wants to have the surface ones, like you're a Christian, you're wrong, or you're this and you're wrong. Nobody wants to dive deep into these other issues because they're afraid of rocking the boat. I'm not afraid to rock the boat. Let's talk. Let's have these hard discussions and let's platform it and do something good with it. And, let's join together as different people, a pagan, an atheist, an agnostic, and let's join together and fight the good fight so minorities can have equality, equity, and parity. And then we can talk about the other things.
See, I think that's an interesting perspective. And I think we can actually learn something, even though it mightn't have been the point you were trying to make, or maybe it was. Because I guess for the atheist community, because for me, a lot of what you're talking about is important stuff, but it's not where my activism lies. I guess my activism lies because based on my experience where I live in atheism, and I think there's something that can be learnt there, that we need to bring in people who hold that same viewpoint from all these different perspectives, get a lot of different thoughts out there. It doesn't matter what your politics are, what you think on this issue, what you think on that issue. Let's come together and I guess fight for a common cause. We can disagree with each other on other things, but for this one issue that we're focusing on, we can fight for that cause. And I guess similar to what you're doing within your community, Ilya, and I guess what you're hoping to do, I think we can actually learn something from that. I really truly do.
Well, thank you. It means a lot to
I mean, as you know, Ilya, I do the same sort of thing as you with my Raising Voices shows, where I find people within minority groups and try to give them a voice so they can tell their stories. So like on Sunday night US time, I've got Godless Granny and Robin on, and they're going to be talking about their story and Robin's transition. So that'll be really interesting, I hope, because they're lovely people. But that's the same sort of thing.
Nathaniel and Susan have been quiet, but I'll just quickly go to Jeff because you've got something to say. And I'll throw across to Nathaniel and Susan because I'm actually trying to. See, this is what happens when I'm not on a stream. Downing a bottle of wine, I actually try and control things, and that's because I'm a control freak. So, Jeff, take it away.
Okay, yeah.
Go get yourself a drink.
Yeah. So, I suppose I mean, maybe this could be my thoughts on. I mean, what we're trying to do is like building up communities, making sure that obviously that we get as much representation from as many different people and different perspectives as we can, and have good conversations. But I think the ultimate thing comes down to that. First of all, the starting point should be we build people up. We don't spend time ripping down others in our community. And I'm not going to mention names, but there are people who just seem to be more obsessed with ripping other people down within the community rather than building anyone up. And I just think that whole thing is just toxic in the community. Now, I will say it's a minority that do that, but it's a minority that has an effect. We've got to acknowledge we aren't always going to agree on things. We've got to acknowledge that. Now, for example, look, I'm here on Chris's stream. Now, Chris and I will tell you, our politics is is a miles and miles apart. Yet Chris is still one of my best friends in this community. And it's the fact that look, we can get past the things we don't agree on, and even what we don't agree on, we can have an intelligent discussion on it. And it's just like, I just think this whole thing of like, oh, Chris is a blooming conservative, cancel him, get rid of him. No, Chris has a
cancel the bastard.
Cancel it. Cancel the
bastard. You're a prick, Chris.
Yeah. But no, Chris has got valid point to bring to this community. I've known Ilya, how long you've been in the community? Little under a year now, Ilya, is it? Since
I think probably May would have been a year, so a little over a year.
Yeah. So
I think Ilya and I started about the same time. So yeah, that'll be about right.
Yeah, and and again, and we're not about going into details or whatever. I mean, there's people that try to cancel you, Ilya, without going into all the details. It doesn't need to be all dragged up. What a tragedy that would have been if we'd lost Ilya's voice in this community. What an absolute tragedy. Someone who's got a great voice and has done a lot. This is why as well. If you see in the chat, not only have I put the link to her channel, I've also put the link to the I Network, which is formerly the channel known as the Shills, although that's still a thing on that channel. There's a community of mainly the sort of skeptic debunking communities who are trying to build each other up. Creators are all trying to help build a community and build other people up and address various different sort of topics and so on that need addressing. We need more stuff like that in our side of the community. I feel we totally need more of that. And that I guess that would be my if it's one overriding message, it'd be a simple one: as let's focus, let's try and build ourselves up. Let's not focus ripping people down because we might not agree with them on certain things. And that'd be my overriding message, I think.
I'll throw down
I agree.
to Nathaniel and Susan. Or Susan Nathaniel, depending on who wants to go first.
Yeah.
She's pointing.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. I've actually given, I don't know, presentation 30, 40 times. Helped to create and then edited a presentation regarding this very topic, actually. I sent Susan a message yesterday morning well, I guess last night for you. I don't actually know how this works.
What is time?
So it's 11:30
We're doing our
PM
stream.
where I am.
6:25 a.m. And
There we go.
but I sent Susan a message yesterday while the stream was on, and then I said it again to her here a little bit ago as well. And we are lacking an incredibly important part of our community across many different platforms, and it's also here as well. We have 0 minority races on any of our platforms 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And part of that, of course, is because in the United States, being a Black American and being anything other than a Christian is actually an incredibly negative thing to be seen, because their communities are much more tight-knit than what we would see in white American communities. And there's a very, very religious ideology within Black America.
There's a certain amount of privilege in leaving religion in that sense and leaving a community, because you know, I think minorities more often than not, you know, they find so much community and common ground in religion.
Yes.
That if they reject religion, it's looked at as you are rejecting culture.
Community.
Yeah.
And community, exactly.
And in Black America, they are intertwined.
Yeah.
And so there is a toxicity built in when a person who is a Black American, especially a descendant of African slavery or African descendant of slavery, that they are intertwined, and leaving religion is like leaving that community. And so it's very difficult. And so what we do is we ignore them. We do, by and large, we ignore them. How many different Hispanics, Latinx folks do we see that have atheist channels? I don't know very many at all. And so we're very white centric.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
White male centric as well. I say that as one. Hi there. But we also, and so, wait till you see the video we have coming out, which I think is going to be tomorrow. Holy.
Oh, brilliant.
Tomorrow or today or in 2 days?
Look, whatever it is for you. And yes, and Rex says, I know several atheists that are Black. Congratulations. I know several Canadian geese. That doesn't speak for the entire population, you know, at all. And
it's a
and they're nice geese too, which is not Canadian geese.
It's also a matter of where you are in the country as well. When I lived in Corpus Christi, it has a heavily Hispanic population, so I knew a lot of Hispanic atheists who would talk about the whole, you know, my family, you know, hated it when I came out as atheist, or, you know, I haven't told my family because I can't. But they're still widely in the community. There's such a small voice.
Yes, and that's important because that is the call me an asshole. You're welcome. That is who they coming out of different cultures. That's who we most readily associate with and can speak with, right? In Oregon, where we live, you are 77 times, it is more likely to see a white person than a Black person in Oregon. And so trying to find somebody inside of a culture like that in Oregon is not easy. And so imagining leaving, now mind you, Oregon is like the least religious state in the country. But we have 31% of the population is atheist, which is here is enormous. But you can imagine being a Black American in Oregon and leaving religion, leaving a tiny community at that point, and trying to find something, and us not being welcoming or not looking like we are. That's enormous. And that does go across everything. I'm mentioning Black Americans because it's something that we're currently focusing on, but it goes across every other boundary as well, things that are not represented. But I also think that we have things that are, especially in the United States, that are atheist issues, that have to do with religion and Christianity. We talk about sex education. We talk about removing religion from politics. We talk about these things that have to, women's rights, trans rights. We look at these things and we see who is holding these things back? Is there one force behind these things that are holding back, as Ilya mentions, with equity first, obviously, equality. And we look at these things and we see the only people, and we know this, the only people that are pushing back with comprehensive sex education are evangelicals, right? The only people that are pushing back against equity for the LGBT community are evangelical Christians, right? These are the only people that are doing this. So if we can create a coalition around something like this, now not everybody is comfortable doing this, and I think it's fine, right? So I can't expect everybody to do what I do, but having the knowledge that we are doing this and doing this together, I think is a big deal. And I think that people seeing that then will, in my opinion and our experiences, bring a common message, and then people tend to galvanize around that, especially when it is a positive message, as in, bringing the number one way to reduce abortions, evangelical Christians, is comprehensive sex ed, and we get behind that. Once you kick that type of religiosity out, which you can get, we have a lot of Christians on our side with that. Then you start seeing movement and stuff. We've actually seen some of that in America, and I think that's a really big thing to be able to do too. Find a common message that we can all get behind. So
that's interesting that you mentioned some of those things, because I think there is some things, like you said, where there's crossover. So when it comes to, let's say, LGBT issues, where it's religious organizations who are doing the pushback and trying to stop, because based on their 3,000-year-old beliefs, absolutely, I think we're in that fight together. And that's probably that gives me something to think about, actually. That does. I always feel like I get smarter when I listen to you, Nathaniel, but I always feel a little bit.
I took it from Ilya. I don't know what you're talking about.
I get smarter every time I listen to him too, and I live with him.
I really do.
You go first, Ilya.
I really do love what you said, Nathaniel, about coming together, finding common ground, and going after real issues, right? So that's what I want to see happen more, because even though we do see a push from the evangelicals, because trust me, I'm in the southern U.S., I see it day in and day out in Population City. So, it's an issue, and I totally get that. But there are a lot of Christians out there who don't believe the same as evangelicals and aren't extremists, who want to ally with people like myself and with people like you that want to see a difference and want to see sex education and want to see less abortions, and understand that would come through education. And so I think that there's definitely something to be said for partnership and allyship, and going after what I would consider abusive behaviors that we're seeing when it comes to race, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, when it comes to women's rights. And I definitely love what you had to say there, and I'm on the same page for sure.
Yeah, I want to hark back to something you said, Nathaniel, that bear touching on with stuff that Susan and I and the rest of the panel last night talked about. And that is some of the issues that we have with accepting within the community people who we've seen as different is because racism, sexism, fear of the LGBT is systemic. Everyone has a little bit of that. You can say that, oh, I'm not racist at all, but most people have an inbuilt thing that if it's a bit different to me, I'm going to be a bit standoffish of it. And I think a lot of times, especially when you're in a comfortable community, I mean, if you're part of a minority, you can feel that very differently because you can feel the other side of that where you get pushed back. But when you're white and you're in a majority white community, it's very easy to just walk in and get open arms support. And not realize that if somebody walks in who's of color, they're not going to get exactly the same thing, even if everybody in that group thinks they aren't racist. And it's the same for anyone who's LGBT. You know, the majority of the cishet people in the group are going to feel the same way about somebody who isn't, even if it's only just a smidgen. And that can sometimes be enough to scare those people off from speaking their voices and being an active part of the community. And I know there's a lot of people who'll sit in the background and not be an active part of the community, but we have to encourage everyone to be an active part of the community to some extent. You know, even if it's just typing your message in the chat, if all you're doing is sitting at home and watching a video, you're not getting that. Something that Christians get out of their religion is fellowship. And I mean, it's fellowship and a lot of horrible stuff. But it's something we have to have as a community too. We have to extend out, create that fellowship. We have to put aside those prejudices that every single one of us has, even if we're not aware of them, and have more open arms for the community so that we can encourage everyone in the community to have a voice.
I think we need to understand, though, at the same time that people from the outside looking in, we're not always the most appealing community to jump into. So I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of people who and I get messages from people who I think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to be involved, but they you know, by watching videos, you know, maybe watching this or any of our channels, that is their community engagement. And that's fine. I've got no issues. Look, for me, my motivation is purely because, you know, I was an evangelical preacher. You know, I was out there winning souls for Jesus. I just want to undo some of the damage. And you know, I enjoy it. I'll be frank, I enjoy it. Not the winning souls for Jesus. I did enjoy winning souls for Jesus, but now I enjoy unwinning souls for Jesus. So,
unwinning souls.
Unwinning, yeah.
Unwinning people. There are no souls.
If I'm not getting people saved, what's the opposite of that? Because I don't know if there's a good word
for that.
The
religion can have their souls. We want the people.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll take the brains. They have all the souls they want.
Have the souls. Winning minds.
I think it's important that I think everyone needs to do what they're comfortable with. You know, it's look, for some of us who are comfortable jumping in front of a camera, that's fine. There's some people who are comfortable jumping in the chat and engaging. There's some people who will just watch. And if you're one of those people who are just watching and not engaging, that's cool. You're a valuable part of our community, and we're happy to have you. Because just by watching, that is a form of engagement with the community, and it helps. You know, it's YouTube, see more people watching. All of a sudden, they think it's more interesting, goes to more people. So there is that benefit as well. But I think it's important. You do you. That's what I think is really important. You do you. Be yourself. Be who you're comfortable being. If you disagree with something, that's cool. Like if your politics are different to mine, that's cool. If you have a different opinion on LGBT issues, that's cool. That's fine. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. We can talk. It's, you know, if you just want to come somewhere because you've gotten out of religion and you want to have that sense of community, hey, we're here. The rest of the stuff. I mean, look, it doesn't matter. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter. It's real. Well, sorry, it does. But in this context, if you're looking for a community, and you're looking for an atheist community or a non-believing community, a secular community, whatever the hell you want to call it, forget the perceptions. We're all a very diverse group. It's everyone here holds different thoughts, different opinions on a variety of things. We probably agree on more than we disagree with, but that's people in general. I think people in general agree with, you only ever see all the arguments that happen in politics and parliaments and congresses and all that. But the majority of things just get passed with everyone voting for them because it's for a common good. So people in general agree on more. They just get louder on the stuff they disagree on. But everyone, I guess, if you're watching this now live, if you're watching this in the future, and you are someone who is or wants to be a part of our community, just know that we value you regardless of the rest of the crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ricardo, I see Ricardo in the chat. Ricardo is a follower of our channel.
Yeah.
And I believe that Ricardo follows us.
Ricardo's awesome.
On Twitter as well.
Ricardo is amazing.
Yeah.
And wonderful.
I see comments from him all the time.
Yeah.
And appreciate every single one of those.
Yeah.
We actually try to respond to the comments on our videos as well. So if more people would like to leave comments, that'd be great. But having somebody like that really helps us as well.
Yeah, because you really feel like you're making a difference, and that your content and your voice is being heard. And I think it's important. Yeah, like I think it's important as a content creator both to get that feedback and respond to that feedback and make sure that people who are commenting on your stuff, like, no, I hear you. Like I value what you have to say, regardless of whether or not I believe in it. I appreciate, what you have to say and your input and stuff. And, it's that whole, find a way to relate to somebody. If you're not agreeing with what they're saying, find a way to relate to them and find a way to get through to them, not turn it into just that is the technical term for that.
It's that right there. That is, I believe, definition dictionary.
Right. I will not ask you to spell it.
Yes. It's a lot of
maybe later.
L's and H's.
Yeah, some U's in there as well.
I'd also like to say to anybody who is watching this now or in the future or whatever, don't be afraid to reach out to content creators. The worst any one of us can do is ignore you. Or I go say, no, I don't have time for you. But that's unlikely. Generally speaking, if you DM one of us or on Twitter or shoot an email or something like that, most of us will try to respond at some point. It might not be straight away because we don't always notice them straight up. But if you want to have a talk to one of us, if you want to try your voice out because you're thinking maybe I want to, then reach out, because we want to be a community. We want what we're talking about here for making a community something we all believe in. So reach out to us, follow us on Twitter, interact in the things we talk about. You may not want to follow me because I do a lot of trans activism stuff, but hey, the other guys don't.
But that's good though, because and that's what you do.
Yeah. I do that. So, but I don't just do that. So, and if you want to interact with me or Chris or Jeff or Ilya or Susan or Nathaniel, follow us. There's lots of other people in the community too. There's going to be people that you can feel comfortable with to communicate with. And maybe if you want to look at having a voice, even if it's just in the discussions on Twitter, it's the discussions in the chat, it's in posting something that's important or that you feel important, or even if it's to say to one of us, hey, I'd like to appear on a show at some time with one of you and we get to know you, then yeah, that's probably something that can happen at some point, because we're all about new voices in the community. And everyone's voice is important, even though I talk a fucking lot. Everyone's voice is important.
I had not noticed.
I've never noticed, Jen.
You're like a church mouse.
I've been pretty quiet tonight.
That's because I'm the one who's talking too much tonight. See, like I said, this is what happens. I'm hyped up on coffee and water at the moment. So this is just me. I'm in energy. I've been chasing around kids all day. It's been a wonderful, fun day. And
I'm just hoping to get a nap in between now and my next stream.
How long have you got, Ilya?
Easy way, just chuck on one of my videos and you'll fall asleep. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Chris is great for napping.
Yeah, I'm practically asleep right now, honestly.
That's why my view hours are so good, because people, they don't turn it off when they fall asleep. It's like, yeah.
And then they have to go back and watch it again later. It's brilliant.
Sorry,
I get so many views.
I have two more live streams today.
Oh my god.
Oh, Ilya.
I'm assuming because I'm guessing you've got your one coming up in about 4 hours, isn't you? The stupidly creepy show.
No, it's.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we do have the show today at 1 p.m. on our channel, but it's Punchy's birthday special.
Okay.
Because he's 30, so we're doing a birthday special. And then at 4 o'clock,
youngsters.
Did you get him a party dress?
Oh my! Oh yes.
putting his avatar in a mankini. But and then at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have
one of Team Skeptics used ones, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh
God. And then at 4 p.m., Schrodinger's cat is doing a 10K subscription special, and I built the set, his thumbnail, and everything for it. So I'm going to be on that for a little while to celebrate his 10K subs. And then tomorrow we have our equality show. Jenny Morgan is on. I do want to really quick plug something, Chris, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Okay, so we have a Teespring store, and I just uploaded an equality design specific with our equality channel logo. And anything that you purchase from the equality line in the next 48 hours is going to be auto donated to the transequality.org here in the US in honor of our first show with Jenny Morgan. We're going to donate all the proceeds from that line. So I'm going to put that here in the side chat. So if you go in and you buy anything from the equality line, it's going to be automatically, donated to that cause, just in honor of Jenny Morgan in our first episode. And we have a lot of different designs in there, so go check it out. And
love it.
Yeah. So and actually, to be honest with you, we're in conversations. There's 6 of us in the debunkers, right, in our channel. And so we are having discussions about making that line exclusive to where it will always donate to an LGBTQ cause.
That's a nice merch there, actually.
Yeah. So we're just looking at the different organizations that make sense for us to donate to, and then we'll go from there. But definitely, if you go buy anything from either of the 2 equality lines that we have, it will be donated to that cause. So thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Now, where my next shirt's coming from.
Right. That's very
I need to start a Teespring or something at some point, I think. But
we just need to get you more. We just need to get you non-sporting related shirts.
Yeah, that Red Sox jersey hurts. It just
okay.
I reckon Jeff needs a T-shirt with my face on it.
I agree.
I've got some other ones there. Do you prefer a Dallas Cowboys shirt? I don't know. No. Okay.
That was in unison there.
We lived in Arlington,
a mile from that stupid stadium.
Yeah.
I'm a Rangers fan, so
I don't have a team anymore. I gotta find one.
You don't have a team anymore. You can like the Rangers with me.
No.
Thing was, whenever I wore a Cowboys jersey on the street, I'd get crap from Mum or Atheist. So I thought I'd get one that she'd more approve from, because obviously she's some more like New England sort of one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She likes
so I imagine Red Sox is a little more. The weird thing of me is, I think I
poor Jen.
When I started following sort of at a distance baseball or whatever, I was just kind of looking for a team, and I kind of went on the Red Sox because a bit like my own team with things like soccer in the UK. The Red Sox never won anything for years, and I'm not being funny. I literally, like a year or so after I said, right, I'm going to make them my team, they finally won the World Series.
2004, by the way.
Yeah, after like 85 years or something, they hadn't won one.
The Curse of the Bambino, yeah.
When was it that they won again?
2004, and then they won again in 2005, and then they won.
They won in 2018 as well.
Yeah.
Where did they go?
Also the place to be for sports.
I think they went to the.
Who's your AFL team, though, everyone?
Arena team. There's one in San Antonio that's pretty nice.
AFL.
You live in Oregon.
Like AFL, is that Australian football league?
Yeah, I'm actually wearing my Giants hat. So
I'm going to say
go Eagles.
It's the Giants.
Go the Eagles, Chris.
I'm guessing that's an Australian team. You don't mean Philly. That worked out.
I mean Australian team.
Although
I'm just giving Chris help.
I also do have. Yeah, that's a bit of commitment to a team.
Little crest, yeah. People that get sports tattoos, serious.
Well,
if I turn my camera off, that's the crest of my favourite sports team on there. So Southampton Football Club. So
if I say anything other than go Winnipeg Jets, I'm afraid that my boyfriend will dump me. So he is a huge Jets fan. He lives in Winnipeg. So yeah.
It's good to know though. If you ever want out of that relationship, you know how to do it.
Yeah, just tell him go Canucks from me. That'll be great. So there you go.
Elliot, what sport is that?
Hockey.
That is the national hockey.
Ice hockey. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's not something I follow, to be honest.
I think if things keep going the way they're going, Canada's going to have a new citizen in the next year. So.
I think I'm going to have to go ice skating sometime and get somebody to take footage of it, just so you lot can all piss yourself laughing, because it's just funny. Trying to watch.
That is a stream I will absolutely tune into.
Yeah,
it is the funniest thing watching me try to ice skate.
We'll turn it into a meme. The whole as you go over, it'll be.
I am dreadful at it. I can't ice skate either.
and then we'll put it on Teespring.
Oh yeah. Jay would certainly do that.
I'm gonna say as I missed it last time because it was like real early in the morning for me. I definitely am gonna have to watch an AFL game with you at some point. I've got a rough idea how Aussie rules works, but there's a few things I'm not quite. Yeah,
we'll set it up. It's because we've got to do that. I've also got to do the video where I get the reactions to Australian music. So I had organised with I'd organised with you guys, and then I kind of fell asleep, and then the next morning just started doing things and got a message going, hi. I'm just like, I'm horrible. I'm an awful person. I'm an awful person. Because we actually had and it blew me away a bit, because it's what it is. There's 3 songs that it's argued as to which is the greatest Australian song of all time, and it's hot debate in every single pub in the country. And I played the 3 songs, and one of the songs Godless Granny reacted to in like broke down in tears listening to it, and it was the most amazing reaction. And it was like, wow, it's when music can do that to someone. And there was other reasons, the film clip came into it, but it was just like, whoa, okay. And we sort of had a chat about it afterwards, and it was, but we'll have to do that. Now we're coming on 2 hours. So what I might do is, absolutely. Yeah, the music.
So there's one of my absolute favorite bands, a band called Reckless Kelly. I think you and I had the Ned Kelly conversation. I think we did the very first stream we were on together.
Possibly. I know Reckless Kelly.
Yeah. So they're named after Ned Kelly. So. Their latest album was a double album, and the 3rd song on it is a song called Tom Was a Friend of Mine.
Oh, yeah. The first time she heard it, I was over there on the computer, and she was over here, and
bawling.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, I turned around, I was like, "Are you okay?"
It's a song about Tom Petty.
Yeah.
About when Tom Petty died.
So
and I've got a Tom Petty tattoo.
Yeah.
Because I'm a weird ass weirdo.
Okay.
I love the Traveling Wilburys myself. So he was. Tell me that wasn't the greatest group of musicians ever put together.
There's a name from the past, Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, I love them so. There's a line in the song, "Say hi to Spike and Lefty." That's Roy Orbison and George Harrison's Wilburys names. And I was just all like, I'm not okay.
I've got a I mean, I've got, well, I say, I don't know if I call a friend, more acquaintance more than a friend, who's he was a DJ on a lot of local BBC radio stations, but he seemed to get like some of the biggest name guests to interview you could imagine, from like the likes of Mick Fleetwood, you know, and you know, even like Slash and Guns N' Roses. He had him on once, and I mean, one of the reasons was before he worked for the British Broadcasting Corporation, he worked for a radio station called Radio Caroline, which was a pirate radio station,
nice.
based on which was based on a ship called the Caroline, which
I know that.
Yeah,
they made a movie, right?
Is that the pirate radio one, like that actual movie, Pirate Radio?
Yeah, that comedy film, The Boat That Rocked, is
that one.
It's very loosely based on something that really happened, but because the government tried. But the thing was that the radio stations in the UK at the time did not hardly played any pop music, popular music. So suddenly, like the pirate radio stations were more popular than the official. And I think at the time the BBC kind of had a monopoly on, like, they owned all the radio stations. They had a monopoly, but they were not playing. But I think eventually it kind of forced the BBC to change their own approach, even though they tried to shut all the pirate stations down. Suddenly they changed all their approach and suddenly started playing popular, and they hired a lot of the old Caroline DJs.
Nice.
There you go.
That's rad.
Look at England doing it, or the UK doing it right.
The damn thing.
You're doing the one thing America never does.
Well, they've got to do something. It's pretty cold there. There's not much to do. It's always rainy, miserable, you know. Soccer's the national.
Yeah, we're in. I don't know how much you know about Portland.
Like
Pretty certain we have the same amount of sunny days as that island.
Yeah.
So,
what do you have there, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff, what is that?
Right, we were just talking about Australian music. So I've got this. It's a biography of a somewhat well-known Australian musician, born in Scotland, but one Mr. Bon Scott.
Oh, Miss Bon Scott.
Killed probably. But it'd be very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Sorry, what did you just say?
Yeah, I know you want to say Akadako, and I fucking hate that.
No, I thought you did. You say you used to do him?
No, I said. I wish.
What am I hearing?
I would have been a bit young, I think, Chris.
But no,
when did he die?
Early about 1980, I think he died.
Yeah, I would have been a tad young there, Chris.
Hang on, what am I hearing? It's like
No, bad headphones.
Yeah, interesting sort of story, because obviously probably more associated with like AC/DC rock and roll kind of thing. Yeah, his two previous bands before that, he was in like a hippie band for a little while, and before that he was in a bubblegum pop pack called the Valentines, who probably had a few hits in Australia but not very well known outside of it. And then you had the young brothers. And
you haven't heard of them? I have.
Valentines. Yeah. And then obviously the young brothers who formed AC/DC, their older brother was in a band called the Easy Beats, who were kind of Australia's answer to the Beatles. You know?
Yeah, Friday on my mind. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, actually, the most interesting, I guess, strange crossover, Michael Bolton. So we all know Michael Bolton, yeah?
Michael Bolton,
the one from Office Space, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. He was originally in a heavy metal singer.
Yeah.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
Michael Bolton, like the king of the love song, you know? Yeah. Everyone's mum's favorite artist.
I can add
did he do active singing or scream singing?
Hang on, I think the delay kicked in there. I think Jeff was saying something.
I was saying I can add something on this as well. This is a little known fact, and the band themselves confirm this on their own social media. That when Black Sabbath fired Ozzy Osbourne, Michael Bolton was kind of one of the candidates they were going to have to replace Ozzy. They went with Ronnie James Dio in the end. But they were seriously. Can you picture that? Michael Bolton and Black Sabbath in the same sentence.
Wow.
That's something I never thought I'd know, and I learned something new today. So thank you, Jeff.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah, I did see Rick Astley sing with the Foo Fighters, so that was a good crossover.
That did happen. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh gosh, no Rick Astley this morning. It's too early.
It's never too early for Rick Astley.
Now Michael,
never gonna pick me up.
He does like comedy songs now.
Yes, he does.
Michael Bolton's like all comedy now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's all self-deprecating comedy. It is great.
Speaking of Rick Astley, one time I had Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door, and my ex-husband, the bathroom literally was around the corner from the front door as you were walking down the hallway, and he was singing that at the top of his lungs, and they literally heard him and burst into laughter and turned around and just made a beeline straight down the sidewalk, and they never came back. I'm like, well, I figured out.
So that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Just rickroll them, and they'll never come back.
Answer the door, see them with their books, and just do a bit of "We're no strangers to love," a bit of that in there, and just see what they do.
Yeah,
I've been very.
I had a friend who I went to, not friends with anymore, but years and years ago. He saw the JWs coming up the street. So he deliberately answered the door naked and told them to fuck off. I'm busy.
I saw for some reason I saw the answering the door naked thing coming. I don't know how.
Yeah,
it's a common thing out there. I mean, look, it's my attitude is I'm always polite to them because I just figure they're brainwashed people. Lissy, on the other hand, she's so nice. Like, she's the nicest person in the world. She'll stand there and have a conversation. She'll let them talk, and I'm just there, just going, "Honey, we've got things to do," and they're sort of, and Lissy's going, "Oh yeah, I'm just there thinking, "Oh, come on." I just answer the door and say, "Look, I studied theology. You want to talk about religion? What would you like to know? I'm happy to talk to you all about your religion." And,
I probably know more than you do. Just so you know.
I can guarantee I do.
I'll just say the only time I'm rude to them or the Mormons, the only time I've ever been rude to either of them has been when I've probably mentioned what I do for work, which I haven't been working for the last few months because for, the sneezy cough kind of thing, that we won't mention its name. So
I know modelling gigs are down. There's not a lot of fashion shows on it.
Well, I work as a postal worker. So the only time I've ever been rude to them is when they have tried to distract me whilst I'm trying to do my job, and I've been polite first, saying, "Look, I'm trying to get on with my work." "Oh, will you just take a copy of Watchtower?" "No, look, I'm trying to get on with my work." So eventually, it has been, "Fuck off."
You're like, I'm trying to get rid of stuff, not take more.
So the Mormons are the ones that I love, because you have some 18-year-old knock at the door with elder on his badge, just like, "Dude, you are not an elder of anything.
No.
Can you legally drink?"
So one of my favorite podcasts, one of my absolute favorites, is one called How to Heretic.
Oh yeah,
which is hosted by 3 ex-Mormon guys. It's Uncle Mark, Uncle Dan, and Uncle Doug, and they are some of my favorite people in the world. You're my favorite, don't worry.
I'm not at all. I was like,
he's like, I'm not threatened by them.
He's got the I know mug, so he knows.
He does. Oh, I love you.
You know how the JWs, when they're sitting in shopping centers, always sort of watch everybody who comes in to see if they can pick out somebody who's a good person? I always make sure I catch the eye of the person who's doing that, and I stare them down. And I've never had any of them come up and try to hand me anything.
See, I'm just like Lissy, because I'm just all like, I'm just too fucking nice.
Screw that.
Like,
I really want one of them to come in and engage, because I'd love to tell them everything that I know about their religion that they probably don't.
I'm too nice.
I just tell them that I'm one of the 144,000, so I'm good.
Yeah. Hey, Chris and Jen, I'm going to have to hop off. I have got to
We've got to go too.
Get some sleep. No worries, Ilya. Love you. Thank you for coming.
Ilya,
And I
did you
gotta
want
go.
to share anything?
Plug yourself, Elliot. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah. So our channel is Sit Down with Debunkers, and we have our Stupidly Creepy show where we deep dive stupid, creepy, scary conspiracies and debunk them on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, but today's an exception. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays, we have our Equality show at 1 p.m. Eastern every week. And then there's also a couple of other shows in the works for our channel right now, but we're going to figure out those as we go along. Also, remember our Teespring store. I put the link in the side chat. I will do it again. And anything that
I'll put that in the comments for anyone who's watching in the future as well.
Yeah,
okay,
and
everyone.
if you purchase from the Equality line, it's gonna be donated to transequality.org. And definitely check us out. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at MoonIlia. And then we also have a Discord. So, you can find me if you want to.
I'll also just say, because you mentioned it, Ilya, as well, on the iNetwork, please check out the Uncalled For, which Ilya is a part of as well. That is one of the best shows on YouTube.
Actually, no, I'm not.
You're not anymore.
I'm not a part of that show anymore, actually.
No, I didn't realize
Oh,
that.
aren't you part of the Shills anymore?
Quickly, I know Susan's got to go as well. So, do you guys quickly want to?
So obviously we're divine disbelief. So every Tuesday we do a secular literary circle stream. It's a secular book club sort of thing. We do it with our friend Elia Kai. It's on our channel. It is at 7:30 Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern.
So it's like 4:30 a.m. for you guys.
No, that's good time for us. That's like midday.
7:30 p.m. Pacific for us.
If
hang on. What time is it there now?
It's 7:05.
Yeah, it's 7:05 right now.
It's 12:05 here, so it's like 12:30.
Oh, so it is midday. Midday.
That's sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
I can tune into that.
Yeah.
Oh nope. Yep. I was thinking this was like one of the
the
regular
other way.
shows. Yep. Cool. I'm gonna go back to this.
We're currently working on a video we're hoping to have come out soon. I'm going to start working on another deep dive video. I think I know what it's going to be on. I think I just got to do a bunch of research for it.
Did I hear some numbers 5 rumors happening?
I think so. Yeah.
Just let that cat out of the bag.
It's more biblical. It's more biblical than I'm used to.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch.
That'll come in handy for all married men, because for those who don't know, numbers 5, that's how you test for an unfaithful wife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll let Lizzie know.
Yeah. It was funny, Jeff, how you mentioned Megan Phelps Roper earlier, because the video that I did that was my first deep dive video by myself was one on leaving the faith as a Christian influencer, which I talked about John Steingard, Megan Phelps Roper, and Josh Harris. There we go. Oh God, I'm so tired.
Bald bearded men that leave Christianity. We're the best.
But yeah, so that was that one. So eventually we'll be bringing back our live streams. I still want to do one. I want to do one this week where it's our panel from yesterday. I think we need.
Yes.
Idea.
I'm totally for that. Please don't make it.
That was an insanely cool stream.
That was a lot.
Tuesday night. I can't. If it's Tuesday night your time, I can't because I'm working my Wednesday. So
okay, no, because Tuesday night our time is our book club stream.
Yeah, it'd be Wednesday.
Yeah,
probably a Wednesday.
Yep.
So
yep. I'm okay for Wednesday morning. A Thursday morning. Yeah, I can do Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Yep, because that's Wednesday live stream is usually what we do. We go over secular news and opinion. Most of it has to do with the United States, quite obviously, because that's what we deal with the most. But as it turns out, Fox News likes to talk about Christianity all over the world. So I have to frequent the Fox News website.
He does.
Thanks, Google, for that.
I thought you seemed to me to be the Tucker Carlson kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely me. Yeah. I do wear a bow tie.
You don't have that anymore. I threw it away.
Never mind. I don't have votes anymore. But we do that.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, no, she's right. And then we do like deep dives that we go into, like she did the one that was with the leaving Christianity as an influencer, which is very, very good. And I've done most of the ones that I've gone over have been the things having to do with Christianity and biblical text, some apocrypha, some things like that. One of them was the historicity of Jesus, which I know that Wayne is definitely probably a fan of, if he's heard me on a different channel, which I know he did. And so we do that a lot. And what we've started to do now, pardon me, is branch out even more and do more with our channel. And we think that's a really big idea. We're getting into the social justice side of things. And that's one of those things where we feel like that's a really, really, if there is something here that is the only thing that we can see holding it back, in our case, would be evangelical Christianity, then that's something that we need to attack. And that's where our channel is also at that one too. And so we have a lot that we're trying to do. And what's kind of funny is that we were doing our show pretty well while both of us were working full-time jobs. I'm now furloughed since like April.
And I work from home.
And can't find the time. So I am hoping to have our new video out tomorrow. That's not a promise, but because it's a very, very, it's the most difficult video that I've ever had to produce and or make. And with that comes a lot of things, making sure that the things that we say as much as we can are impactful while being respectful at the same time. So that is, that's hopefully for tomorrow, but we'll see when it comes out. So, but that's what we're doing. You can also find us on Twitter too.
Yeah. He
We've
tweets
been
a lot.
tweeting a lot more politically lately, but that's because things have been really important to us.
Not noticed.
Yeah, I know, Chris. Things have been a lot more important lately regarding coronavirus in the United States, not New Zealand or Australia, because, competency.
Yeah. Because we've got decent political parties.
We have a competent government here. I keep telling everyone that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Telling everyone.
I unfortunately have to agree with you, Chris.
One for the good guys.
So we've got in the UK, we've got what's known as Schrodinger's government in terms of their decision making.
You're just waiting for Johnson to break open the poison, aren't you?
We're in a panic here because one of our states has had an outbreak. We've had 40 new cases, and I was saying that to someone yesterday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's been like 5,000 the other day in Florida." I'm just like,
8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw that tweet thread I put together yesterday.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Sorry, it was you I was having the conversation with, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just move over here. It's fine.
I was like, I would rather.
To be fair, they do have a lot more population than us.
About 10 times. About 10 times. But if you look at it, I mean, we've had 104 deaths from this thing. 104 deaths.
Yeah.
We've had 42,000.
There we go.
Oh,
and the population of the UK is about 75 million.
We are coming up on 150,000.
Oh, I thought we were already at 2.
There we go.
Yeah.
Pretty
proportionately, there's not a massive difference between the UK and the United States in this thing. It's pretty damn bad.
I was looking yesterday. I think Brazil is second in the world in cases to the United States. We have like 2.5 million. They have like 1.3 or something.
Yeah.
So
I reckon China's probably number one.
Who knows?
Figures.
But their per capita, New York City's per capita is so much higher than like anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then as well as every I was looking at that, like it's like 20 or 30 some odd states have a higher per capita of individuals in the United States that have had coronavirus than like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it's and of course most of those states now are in the American South.
Yep.
And look, I'm not trying to be political, but there's a common thread there.
There is.
And so so we've been tweeting about that more recently, as well as we are getting into like election season and stuff, and we have things that we are aligned together with pretty much everything when it comes to politics. Good thing.
Yeah.
And so we tweet about that, but you can come follow us and ignore those things and join us with like, calling out bigots and stuff, and people that preach hate from the pulpit. We are down with that.
Yeah.
So
you can follow me, and I just post cute shit.
She does.
It's a lot of photos of the cat. And
You
dog.
do. You have good conversation though, too.
I try. I currently have tweet thread going that's basically just June today. It's June 27th. The cops that murdered Breonna Taylor haven't been arrested. Arrest them. I'm keeping that going.
Yeah.
For a while, because they still haven't been arrested. So we need to arrest the
fucked
cops that
up.
murdered Breonna Taylor.
I know nothing about that, so I can't comment.
Yeah, it's
police system in the US is so messed up.
Just understand.
I'll
avoid that one because I'm actually the son of two police officers. So
that's fine.
I was just going to say, because I think we've veered quite a way off topic anyway with this, haven't we? I think. But
we're winding up. Maybe we should get back to winding up.
I actually have to.
And I have to get back to my script and stuff. So but
awesome.
Yeah, thank you as always for inviting us on.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
I love having you guys. I love talking to you guys.
Can I just say something to you guys before you go? Yeah. I just realised whilst we were on stream that I wasn't subbed to you yet, so I have since rectified that. Okay.
Yay!
Actually, I think there was a few people who were saying they were subbing, so I think you're up to 456 or 457 or something now.
Like that, yeah.
We appreciate that.
Amazing to me.
Yeah, we say
amazing to me. You guys don't have more.
Well, we say
two more during this, Chris.
What we say a lot is that we did not get into doing these things to have a huge audience or a following for sure. What we wanted to be able to do was to provide entertaining educational content for folks, and if people like it and want to follow us and stuff, that's we appreciate it very much. It's not why we do it though, and that's why whenever folks whenever I go debate and people give money or whatever, that gets donated to a charity. So
just put the link to your channel in the chat, by the way. So
appreciate that.
If anyone in the chat is not sub to Divine Disbelief, go and sub now, please.
Sub to Jeff as well.
Yes,
I'll put my link in there.
Is it over there?
I already did everyone's links, Jeff.
And sub to me. Sub to me as well. But
it's your channel.
Sub to me as well.
We got to go.
Right.
We're all needy.
Thank you so much.
Very needy.
All right. So, Jeff, what do you got coming up, buddy?
Okay. Well, first of all, before I plug any of my own stuff, I just had a little DM, just a little clarification from Ilya on something, because I think she felt it was that people might have misunderstood. No, she's not part of the Uncalled For anymore, but it doesn't mean there's anything issues there, and she still fully supports and is happy to plug that show. Just that she's doing so many other things, something had to get something, she had to sort of give something up. So I think Ilya because I think she realised she just had to shoot off, and she just wanted to clarify that very quickly. So now to me, I'll plug a couple of things that I've had on the channel over the past week that I'm quite happy with. Last two videos I've had out have been live streams where I first saw an interview with Les Fruitbat Carter, who was if you're fans of British indie music, you might find that interesting. His band, Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine, headlined Glastonbury in the early 90s. So it's a quite interesting kind of just talk with him about his career. And last night, on my channel, I had Grumpy Ed, aka Grumpy Old Dude, on. And we were obviously Chris, friend of the channel, is friend of your channel, as we know. But I had him and Mama Atheist on as well, and we had a kind of good talk with Ed about obviously his journey sort of into and out of white supremacism into where he is now, where he speaks out against hate groups, and a good conversation about how we can how can we best how do we best deal with hate groups? How do we best fight against them? So it was quite interesting. We had a good conversation, and hopefully at some point when Ed's a little less busy, we're going to try and do a part 2, and because I think there was definitely some stuff we could follow up on and have a good conversation on. So I'm very proud of those 2 things. As to what I've got coming up, I'm doing something tomorrow. This has been a regular thing I've been collaborating on with Hissy from Hissy's Hideaway. I think it's on her channel tomorrow, but we've been going through all the old Asterix comics and kind of going through them, and I haven't, they're trying to have a little bit more of a light-hearted kind of stream, though, talking a little bit about the history of Rome and that as well. So I think tomorrow it's on Hissy's channel. I think it's her turn to host. We're to be doing Asterix the Legionary, and that's at 1 p.m. UK time. So that's what I've got coming. That's the only thing I've really got coming up at the moment. So
what's happening in Jen's little corner this week?
What's happening in my little corner? Well, hopefully now that my neck's better, I will get the masturbation video out. That sounds dreadful, doesn't it? That really does sound bad. I'm sorry, Chris.
That's how she heard it.
It's an educational video. It's not a porn. I'll make that quite clear. It's educational.
Even though it's on Pornhub, it's not porn.
Even though it's on Pornhub, no, it's not on Pornhub. It'll be on YouTube.
Chris, there goes Chris. Chances of ever getting monetized.
Yeah, sorry.
Like I was ever going to get monetized to start with. Come on.
With me, yeah, especially. I've also got Granny and Robin on Sunday night US time, so Monday morning for those of us in Australia, where we'll be talking about what Granny does for her activism, especially in trans-related things, because of Robin being a trans man. That should be really interesting. Granny's absolutely lovely. This is Godless Granny that I'm talking about, and her son Robin is pretty brilliant. So that'll be an awesome discussion. I've also got a science video I'm working on that will hopefully come out this coming week. Hopefully early in the week, but it depends how much I get a chance to work on both of those. And I'll probably do a debunk video as well. So I'm going to have a pretty busy week, but that's cool. What I've got happening. So,
well, and if you're here, you're probably a good chance you know who I am. Friday Night Six Pack's on, Conspiracies is on. I've actually got another channel I'm setting up where I'm going to do political stuff, because I don't think my political stuff necessarily belongs on here. I want to make this more atheist community, atheist content, and separate the two. But anyway, when all that happens, I'll post links, and if people want to follow it, they can. So that being said, we'll call it a night. So good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever the hell you are on this beautiful planet we all occupy. And thank you for coming.